All right, so my name is Candace Badgett, and I'm just delighted to welcome everyone here today. This is our inaugural monthly webinar that we'll be sharing from the Raj. And so we're looking forward to having some great guest speakers each month. Again, I just would like to introduce myself. 33 years ago, my husband, Rogers Badgett, and myself, we built the Raj, 36,000 square feet Ayurvedic campus in Fairfield, Iowa, pioneering the use of Ayurvedic medicine in the West. And it's been really our joy to offer these fabulous programs that are so transformative for everyone's health. And that's what we're going to be talking about today in light of environmental toxins. I also want to let everyone know, and it's there in the chat box, that we will open it up for questions at the end of our talk with Dr. Fagan today. So I'm going to go right ahead now and introduce our guest speaker, Dr. John Fagan. He received his PhD from Cornell University, and he started his career as a National Institutes of Health funded cancer researcher, pioneering work on how environmental toxins affect gene regulation. So Dr. Fagan has been focused on this for a very long time. And currently, John is professor of molecular biology at Maharishi International University, where he's doing research on the molecular biology of higher states of consciousness. He's also the CEO and Chief Science Officer of Health Research Institute. It's a 501c3, not-for-profit organization dedicated to understanding the connections between farming practices and food quality and human health. And very interesting note is that John is internationally recognized for his stand against genetic engineering. And quite remarkably, he had been given more than $500,000 grant that, in protest of the dangers and unethical implications of genetic manipulation, he returned that grant. He's considered a world expert on environmental toxins and genetically modified foods and food safety. So I would like to welcome Dr. John Fagan. John, it is so delightful to have you with us. I know you're very busy. I see you're there in your lab now. And I would love it if you could share with everyone what you are currently doing in your lab over there at Maharishi International University, which is just down the road from the Raj. So if you could let us know about that, that would be wonderful.
Thank you, Candace. It's a delight to be here today. And let me tell you just a little bit. Mostly we do what's called mass spectroscopy. It's a methodology that it's like X-ray vision. And with this, we can see every nutrient in a food, or we can see hundreds of toxins if they happen to be present in the food. And so that's what our work is about, looking at the good things and the bad things in food. And so that's where we focus a lot.
That's so great. And of course, you've been continuing with your focus on food safety. I think that's sort of been predominant throughout your whole career. And it's just so fascinating now that this is really coming to the fore. And I'm sure our listeners have probably noticed that recently there have been so many articles connecting environmental toxicity in the body to health concerns. And we're going to really do a deep dive into all of that today. And just this big growing concern about the pesticides, the fungicides, and the other chemical residues that are just more than more relevant than ever. So I want to also talk about, John, I want you to talk about the study that we did that you and Bob Heron, and Bob, I think, is on the line today, which is great. Bob was the lead on that study in which you were looking at examining the body burden of toxins, the toxic load that individuals carry, and looking to see to what extent Panchakarma could remove those toxins. So the toxins were slightly different at that time, but they're certainly in the same category, fat soluble and very long shelf lives. They remain in the body a long time. So I'd love for you to talk about that study that you and Dr. Heron did. Oh, I think it's almost 20 years ago. And we're kind of resurrecting all of that because it's time to do another big study on these even more intense forever chemicals that are in the environment now. So, anyway, please go ahead. I'd love to have you share the story of that study and where we want to go with it now.
Yeah, it was very exciting at the time, and it continues to be really something that has huge potential for helping humanity. Uh, what we showed is that uh, back then, the compounds that were studied were things like DDT and dieldrin and these what are called organochlorine pesticides. And what the problem with them is that when you eat them, they accumulate in the fat tissues of the body and in the every cell membrane,
Right,
the membrane around the cell. Every cell has uh, a membrane that's essentially mostly lipids or fats, and so it's a very it's a very important component of our body. And these pesticides, these organochlorines would absorb into that, and they our body doesn't have a very effective way of degrading them and getting rid of them, detoxifying from them. And so the half-life for that detoxification process, depending on the compound, is between 10 and 20 years. It takes 20 years to reduce the amount of that in your body by 50%. What we found is that Panchakarma reduces those levels not in years, but in days. 5 to 7 days of Panchakarma are capable of reducing the levels of these pesticides, of these nasty compounds, by somewhere between, it depends on the compound, between 40 and 55, 60%, something like that, 58%. So very striking effects, and giving people the ability to remove these things in a very effective way. But now most of those are gone. But the good old chemical industry has come up with a whole new class of compounds, organofluorines. Now, these are PFAS, PFOS. They're called forever chemicals because they're even more stable than the organochlorines. For some of them, their half-life in the physiology is 50 years. And what that means is that probably you will die with whatever forever chemicals you happen to eat when you're 15 years old. So it's a real problem. And there are really no solutions. At this point in time, humanity has not found good solutions, except we have from what we've seen with organochlorines, we are pretty certain that we're going to be able to show that we can use panchakarma to remove these forever chemicals from the body very quickly. And so we're starting this study, very excited about this, and we'll see where it takes us. But it's probably going to take us to a solution for a big problem that's been really concerning experts all around the world on toxicology. So that's the story.
That's a great story. And John, I just want to say that are we thinking that we should probably be able to produce the same kinds of results that we found 20 years ago with the fat-soluble toxins, along with now with these forever chemicals, because they too are fat-soluble toxins? Is that an accurate statement?
Right. Yes, that's the case. They're fat soluble. They hide in the same places that these other things do. And they're also really, they're nasty things. They actually mimic our hormones and
Yeah.
disrupt the way that our physiology functions. And this can affect reproductive functioning, it can affect cognition, it can affect our metabolism. You know, right now we have literally a an epidemic of obesity in this country, and even in little children. Why is that? Well, it could well be at least partly because of these chemicals. So,
I,
and the other things. Yeah, go ahead, Candace.
I have a question for you on this because you're saying that these forever chemicals, they're often referred to as hormone mimickers. So
Mhm.
what the question that goes through my mind just now, based on what you just said, is how is it that hormone mimickers are affecting obesity? I can see how hormone mimickers can be impacting fertility and reproductive issues. Um, but I'm just wondering, how do we make that connection to being at the basis contributing to obesity, these forever chemicals?
Oh, very good question. Um, Basically, there are the sex hormones which influence the development. They influence reproductive function, things like that. But there are also hormones that influence the metabolism,
Mm.
and and ones that influence the sense of hunger. So those things can happen as well and can trigger, changes on this level. But the key ones are these effects on metabolism, where, the forever chemicals can increase what's called oxidative stress. That means creating more oxidation in the body, which causes inflammation,
Mm.
and inflammation is the basis of literally every what would you call it, chronic disease that's out there. And
Yep.
therefore, you have big problems. And metabolic syndrome, imbalances in the metabolism, are the basis of all these metabolic of obesity, of diabetes, of many, many other problems like that. So,
Yeah, I think this is why there's so much attention. Suddenly it's like, the alarm has gone off in the minds of our doctors and scientists, suddenly
yeah.
uh, realizing the connection to these environmental toxins to the decline of the health of the country, which has been in that direction for a while. And the other thing that when you mentioned inflammation, uh, when you and I were speaking with that very world-renowned medical institution the other day, uh, in pursuing the idea of a much bigger study in collaboration with them, that was one of the things that that researcher there brought up, and that was we need to include markers, measuring the markers for inflammation. So if we can be showing with Panchakarma that we're not only are we pulling out the forever chemicals, but we're also reducing the inflammation markers at the same time. So that's going to be another element to add into that study that's going to be fantastic. And the other thing I wanted to mention was that I want to go back for a second to what you were talking about in regard to your research on gene expression in terms of higher states of consciousness. And I want to tie it back to Ayurveda because we have to start thinking, how is it that this system that's 6,000 years old is suddenly the solution to very modern day problems? And this understanding in that tradition of Ayurveda of modifying genetic expression. We can't change our genes, but we can certainly change how they express themselves, as you were saying, and where we can see things that allow us to turn off the weaker genetic makeup that we have and turn on the stronger genetic makeup, like maybe we inherited from our parents some tendencies to a certain health issue. To be able to shut that gene off has huge implications. And of course, this is referred to as epigenetics. And what epigenetics is telling us is that our lifestyle choices have a huge impact on our genetic expression. And so this is why way back when this system of medicine, Ayurveda, that is the oldest continuously practiced system of medicine in the world, that their whole prevention angle is all about lifestyle choices, because that's where the real prevention is. Now, the other fascinating mechanism with Panchakarma is that we are saturating the body internally and externally with oil. So, what that's allowing this treatment to do is to have all this oil, herbalized oil, saturate the tissue beds, and therefore all those um, all those fat-soluble toxins that have lodged themselves in that lipid lining around every cell, now they are naturally inclined to move out into that oil that is now in the intercellular uh, environment around them. And now we're pulling them out, moving them out into the bloodstream, moving them out in the digestive tract and pulling them out. So this is kind of the mechanism that's it's so gentle, it's so natural, it's so luxurious, as you were saying the other day. It's just such an amazingly effective means of not only pulling out these fat soluble toxins, but also rejuvenating the entire physiology. So, I mean, I think that's next on the list after we can show in a very large study that we can pull out these fat soluble forever chemicals, is then to begin to show the impact of these treatments on addressing chronic disorders, which are all based on inflammation, and inflammation being so impacted by the presence of these hormone disruptors that are literally disrupting the communication throughout the entire body. So there's so much to look into, but pulling out these chemicals it's really foundational. So, the other topic that I was hoping we could also address is how can we avoid the accumulation of these toxins? Uh, because if we're taking, say, 50% out with Panchakarma, but we're doing things that are bringing all those chemicals back in. So we would just love to hear all your insights about how we can protect ourselves from accumulating more and more of these environmental toxins. Where are they? What are they in? What can we avoid?
Very good question. Um, the the forever chemicals and other toxic and harmful chemicals are really in the more processed foods, and they're in the packaging that you wrap food in and things like that. You may have recently noticed that there are a lot of companies that are replacing the styrofoam with cardboard Okay. Now that seems like a more environmentally uh, preferred kind of packaging.
Right.
But the problem is that they coat those paper cups and things like that. They coat them with the forever chemicals. So you put hot coffee in something like that, or warm milk or whatever that way, and the chemicals are absorbed from the paper cup into what you're eating. So using glass, ceramic, containers for your food, stainless steel, that sort of thing for things that are portable is very important. That's probably the largest source. And it's also the source for this new set of chemicals called microplastics and nanoplastics,
Mm.
which are very concerning, which are and actually can transport more of the forever chemicals into your body. So because the forever chemicals are a common component of the plastics in our environment. So moving away from plastics to the extent that you can is a very helpful thing to do, including things like, well, right here is an example, which is a permapressed breeches shirt. And that shirt is coated in forever chemicals. And so as you wear it, it's sort of they rub off a little bit and you get a little bit of powdering of them and you get a little bit of the material absorbed into your body. So this is the last set of permanent pressed clothing that I will purchase. And yeah, I'm going to wear them out, but when they're gone, they're gone. I won't be doing that. And so, but in the foods, they are to the extent that you can go with natural and the extent you can go with locally produced, you're going to be avoiding the forever chemicals because they're in the packaging, but they also can be in the added materials. Now, there is another thing that is a source, and that is that there are now forever chemical pesticides that are being used.
Terrible.
These are the most concerning because when you spray these on your field, it means that field is forever chemicalized. And so you have a big problem with that. And so what we are in the process of doing is alerting people in every state of the union about this. And hopefully Maine has a law banning these things now. And we're hoping that other states can ban these very quickly, even though they're very popular by the chemical industry because they're new and patentable. They're not good for people. And it isn't better living through chemistry, it's better dying through chemistry. So just be cautious about those things. So natural is better, organic is better. All of these things are going to protect you from these nasty things. And to avoid contact between your skin and plastics, and certainly avoid putting food in saran wrap and things like that. And because those are very heavily incorporating those materials. So
Mm.
just
Yeah, it's
careful.
ubiquitous. It seems to be everywhere. And I want to go back to when you were talking about how so many takeout restaurants are moving away from styrofoam, which hurts the environment, and taking up paper, cardboard, uh, food containers. But what we don't realize is that they're sprayed with these forever chemicals to keep that paper container from leaking. So you may be helping the environment without the styrofoam, but you're not helping yourself. And that's a big shock, because we all feel that we're being very responsible and we're making the right choice. And then there it is. I think you were mentioning Teflon, also Teflon coating on pans. So um, it's everywhere, and it's very disconcerting when you think about these forever chemicals being sprayed on fields and going into the soil. And then even there in the soil, they're not going to break down for 100 years, which means that when another person comes along and purchases that land and decides they're going to do organic farming, they are pulling these forever chemicals from up from the soil into the plants that we're eating. So it's a big issue. And the great thing is, the good news, we're always looking to the good news, and that is that it is becoming aware. States like Maine are already banning these products. And of course, we have a lot more interest in the government of taking these issues on as well with FDA and various other places. So hopefully, uh, these things can be banned. But in the meantime, uh, you know, organic organic food is just such a key way of avoiding. And so many of the organic food companies that have been around for a long time, really kind of legacy organic companies, their fields have been free of these pesticides for a long time. So there are ways to find that food where you can feel completely safe. And of course, the other way is to grow our own food, at least grow our vegetables in our backyard. And it's kind of crazy in this day and age where suddenly we're thinking about kind of growing our own food, but it is an interesting way to go. So I think there are ways, and of course, if we can show in this upcoming study that we're about to do that we can do the same thing we did with the DDT and the PCBs and all the chemicals that we were measuring, fat-soluble chemicals 20 years ago, if we can pull that out and you can do 50% in 5 days, then a couple times a year and eating organic and avoiding the plastics, you can pretty much stay on top of it. So there is good news. And the other thing I wanted to ask you about are these microplastics. They're also getting a lot of coverage. Just saw an article the other day talking about there is far more microplastics in our brains than they had originally thought. So they're getting to the point where they can detect it well, but not quite well enough where we can have a study. So if you could talk about that and how your lab is starting to prepare for being able to measure those microplastics, that would be fascinating for everyone to hear as well.
Mm. Yes, the microplastics are and nanoplastics, they're even finer. The nanoplastics actually can be absorbed through your skin and go straight into the body. They're so fine, they just slip through the skin. And this is very concerning. Um, and what it's challenging to measure these things, but people are beginning to do this. And we're in the process of exploring all possibilities so that we can set up the methods to measure these. And within the next 6 months, we'll have our first pilot of that in progress. So, and then we'll be able to do another Panchakarma study where we're actually looking at the effects of Panchakarma on the microplastics. That will be very interesting and very enlightening that way. So
Great.
it's the
Got a
start.
lot of work cut out for you,
Oh
John.
yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
But we're so grateful to have your lab just down the road. And the other thing that we're about to launch at the Raj is a program where you can have your blood drawn, and Dr. Fagan in his lab will analyze your body burden of toxins, and then we can organize the opportunity for you to provide a blood sample after you've completed Panchakarma, and we can look very directly at how much has been pulled out. Now, the interesting thing is that we have to wait about 3 weeks after um, someone has completed their Panchakarma, because that purification process doesn't stop just because the Panchakarma treatment stopped. It continues for about 3 weeks. So we really want to get a good measurement on how much has been cleared up. So we're organizing ways in which everyone can, once they get home after 3 weeks, they can provide a blood sample, and you'll take care of that and we can take a look. So we're going to be announcing that project pretty soon, uh, and an option that our guests can uh, take part of if they would like to see that. So, John,
Just to, yeah, let me just say one quick thing about that.
please do.
That if you, that our laboratory, Health Research Institute, is now set up to measure body burden of many pesticides and toxins, and the forever chemicals are among those. And so if you're concerned about the body burden of these pesticides, you can send samples, and that may be a good thing to do, just to make sure that you're doing okay, you know. And
Yeah, it's
and
great.
and then it's part of the Panchakarma. You can schedule, and there, as Candace moves forward with this, we'll likely have some special parts of the Panchakarma program that will maximize the effectiveness of pulling these things out of the physiology. So that will come with more research, and will be very, very interesting, very powerful.
So we will put that information in our next newsletter, and just after we have questions and answers here, then we will post information about being able to sign up for the newsletter. I think all of you who are on, will send you an email in regard to registering for that newsletter, where we'll be talking about all these new programs that we're going to be putting in place, and just the opportunity to contact John and just have a blood sample taken and just find out where you are in all of this. It's always good to know. So let's open it up for questions and answers here. You can take your microphones off of mute now if you'd like to raise your hand. All right, we've got some raised hands. So, Marta Christie, let's go with Jacob, and then we'll go to Marianne.
Hello.
Hi.
I want to say I was really glad to be able to take part in this conversation and listen in to you guys. This is very exciting because even as I sit here, I just feel like I'm 22 years old and I'm very like lethargic. And I feel that, lethargy. And I'm like, I'm wondering why is that? And listening to you guys, it's like, well, maybe that's why I'm drinking all these chemicals in my cups and using plastics and things like that. So my question is, I'm actually not too far from the Raj. We're in like 10 minutes outside of Fairfield. I'm out in the country here.
Sure.
So who does the Panchakarma treatments? Does the Raj does the treatments?
Yeah, that's our main focus.
Oh,
We are
okay.
we are Panchakarma Clinic.
Fa-
Absolutely.
Fantastic. And do you have like Ayurvedic practitioners who do the treatments?
We do. We have right now a PhD from Maharishi International University, who's been our Vaidya. We call a Vaidya is the traditional Ayurvedic doctor.
Okay.
He's worked with, he's been at the Raj for over 20 years, and he has worked with over, I would say probably 20 uh, Ayurvedic Vaidyas from India who have their
Mhm.
different specialties. And then also we have uh, Vaidya Vaidya. His family name is Vaidya. So
Ah,
being a Vaidya goes back hundreds of years, and not thousands of years, in his family.
yes,
He's a fantastic Vaidya, and he comes every now and then. He'll be coming back probably the end of September,
yes.
of October, and he's here as well. And we have pulse diagnosis where
Hmm.
we can determine the imbalances. And
Okay.
it'll be great when John can start to take blood and also let people know uh, how if they have a high body burden of toxins, and then
Hmm.
how much we were able to take out, and to start adjusting some of our treatments in a way that we know we can really maximize that removal of those toxins.
Excellent. Yeah, I've actually met with Vija, and it was great to do the pulse diagnosis. This was like almost 2 years ago when I first moved to Fairfield, and it's helped me go onto a totally different trajectory. Now, the next question is, I didn't know you guys offered this Panchakarma. I didn't even know about it until I saw the email. So I'm very excited about it. And is that on campus, or could I drive there each day? Do I have to stay at the Raj, or could I stay here and do the treatments there? How does that work? Or how could I find out more?
Yeah, just call the Raj and
Hmm.
put all that contact information in the chat box. Uh,
Okay.
Marta Christie can put that there in the chat box. And yeah, just come by sometime and we can explain everything and how the treatments work. It's great to do it in residence because we provide all the proper food. And of course, everything at the Raj is organic. The ingredients that we use in the treatments
Hmm.
and our food and everything else. And it's important to stick to a certain kind of diet, which we have chefs who make it delicious. It's quite miraculous that they do. And so it can be really, really effective. But there absolutely people locally can also stay at home and do it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Fantastic. This is so exciting. Dr. John, thank you so much for sharing with us. It's inspiring and it gives me hope. And it's just when I hear you talk, I'm like, okay, so there is a solution to all this, you
Yeah.
know? So keep up the good work, Dr. John and Miss Candace. Thank you so much for all you're doing. And hopefully I'll be able to do the Panchakarma soon. I would love to send some blood in soon. Sounds kind of funny, but I think I'll do that.
Great. All right. Thanks, Jacob.
Thank
That's
you.
great. And the Raj phone number and address is there in the chat box now. All right. Thanks so much. And let's go over to Marianne.
Hi, thank you
Hi.
so much for doing this. My two big concerns are the chemicals coming down, even if we're eating organic, with all of the geoengineering going on. You know, we hear about the aluminum and the strontium, the barium. Some farmers are talking about how they're noticing the apricot and the fruit trees being most affected. So that's my big concern. And my second big concern is if Panchakarma will help not only eliminate, I mean, that's those types of chemicals, but also um, we hear about the spike protein continuing to circulate from these COVID shots. So will PK help in that regard?
Very good question.
Excellent.
The the thing that you should know is that um, the heavy metals, the things like aluminum that can be contaminants of food, uh, lead, aluminum, cadmium, mercury, all of these things are very are not good for us, and they do cause serious problems. Uh, we don't know yet whether panchakarma facilitates that, but based on what we know about panchakarma, we can expect that panchakarma will improve it will help people who have contamination from these as well. And we should be, we're very much interested in exploring that more deeply. And as we do that, we'll put more information out. Um,
And
now,
John,
yeah. Mhm.
I believe we did have a study on lead, and we were able to pull lead out significantly. So, and that was with a group who did stained glass windows. So they were doing the leading on the windows, and their lead toxicity exceeded, safe levels. And so then we did something with them, and so that was also very, very encouraging. Um, and then, the other question that Marianne asked about is the spike protein. And that's where we've had people who have had either long COVID or they've had problems after the vaccine. and we've been helpful to them, but we need to do some research, that really can show definitively that we're helping with the removal of the spike proteins. So there are people we are speaking to about doing that, and that will probably be another another one of our webinars coming up.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, Don, we're moving over to you. But you have to come off of mute. There you go.
I'm wondering if what we can do, if we already have our program and an Ayurvedic lifestyle, Abhyanga and the things we do, asanas and all that, good diet. In addition to that, what can we do? And this might be especially in times of those junction points in the year where the cleaning is more appropriate. What can we add, if anything, to accentuate even a daily cleaning process? What can we do to intensify this? And also, I think it would be nice if it's available to be able to have an online interview with Zoom, if possible, with a Vijja who could sort of adjust our configuration of what herbs we should be taking.
Yeah.
What can we do that will take this to the max if we can't come and get Panchakarma? And it's been 3 years for me since I've been able to do that Panchakarma. So that's my question.
Sure. And of course, Ayurveda is so individualized. So in terms of talking generically about certain herbs everyone should be taking, it's better to be individualized. So people can come to the Raj just for a consultation with the Vaidya. And it's a great question about Panchakarma, because what we plan to do once we have the study and we've demonstrated the mechanism by which these chemicals can be pulled out, then we want to be able to make it widely available. And the way that can be done was with something along the line of a home package, where
Yeah.
maybe it won't be quite as intense, quite as thorough in what we can do, but there is definitely a way, and we're already thinking about that, and even giving a whole webinar series that would go with it. So then you're getting the guidance on how to use the Panchakarma at-home package and how to adjust your diet, and a lot of information so that it's truly available to everyone. Because we understand this is a very labor-intensive process, which makes it an expensive process. And also the fact that we only go organic, and as we all know, the price of food is going up, especially with organic. It's in big demand. So these all contribute to it being somewhat an expensive process, but there are ways that we're going to be able to make this more widely available. So thank you for bringing that up.
Well, thank you. And this is very good news about your future plans. Thank you.
Yes. And we'll be doing a webinar on it as soon as we get it all set up and organized. Thanks.
Good.
Okay, Emily, go ahead. Okay, Emily, you have to come off of mute.
Hello?
Hi, we can hear you now.
Wonderful, thank you. So I'm currently in the bachelor's program pursuing my Ayurvedic and integrative wellness degree. The point that caught my eye the most was about how these forever chemicals are mimicking hormones.
Yeah.
And I believe that I have a hormone imbalance despite doing all I can to live an Ayurvedic lifestyle. I was under the impression that Dr. Vasant Lad was doing a Panchakarma treatment in India at the end of the year around the holiday time. When is it the doctor we have on the line right now? When is the earliest that he is accepting like blood samples for his work?
Oh, you can send those right away, and we can look at things. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Because learning about the Panchakarma treatment over in India, it caught my eye, but I just obviously wasn't sure what all of my imbalances were, despite getting a pulse diagnosis. I just wanted to know a little bit more, but the blood sample really caught my attention. So that's great to know. I will be sending you an email soon then.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, Elsa, you're up next.
Hello, so glad to be here. And is it Dr. Badgett?
I do have a PhD, but I just go by Candace.
I thought you did. I'm like, Dr. Fagan, well, we have Dr. Badgett too. So thank you both. I'm delighted to hear what you described about, doing the research first at the Raj, doing the intensive treatment there. I have been to the Raj in the past and actually met with you, Dr. Candace, in 2014. So this is something that I've wanted to do for a long time, but living pretty far away in California and having little kids, it wasn't something that was doable for me. So my question to you is actually about, somewhere between doing Abhyanga ourselves and being able to go to the Raj. I'm so delighted you're thinking about that in-between stage. Because of course, the top notch is to go to the Raj and spend a week there and doing all the foods and the intensive treatments right there. And first of all, we can't all do that, but also you wouldn't have room for all of us. So I'd love to hear something about maybe even in California, where I'm from, Southern California, or other local treatments. I've had a really hard time finding a place that I could go to do PK locally, and India right now is also out of my league, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, and also, it's really important that it is authentic Ayurveda.
Right.
So I know a lot of places where they kind of add in Ayurvedic treatments, and, authenticity is everything. And we were very fortunate because uh, we've been teachers of the Transcendental Meditation program for years and years, and it was Maharishi Mahesh Yogi that decided to revive Ayurveda. This was back in the early 1980s when someone brought to his attention that allopathic medicine, Western medicine in America, was actually the third leading cause of death in America. And at that point, Marisha's comment was, it's time that we allow people to take their health and their happiness back into their own hands. And so that was the beginning where we began to send people into the very remote villages in India because so much had been lost due to foreign domination in India, where with the Mughal rule, and then most particularly with the British rule of India, where they brought allopathic medicine in and closed down the Ayurvedic colleges and clinics. And so a whole generation had grown up thinking that Ayurveda was just folk medicine, it was backward, it was something, their grandparents, great grandparents did. And so this was really important to go and find authentic Ayurveda where it had been done the same way for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and then bringing all those Vajas together to create a council of Vajas. And some of the world-renowned Vajas were part of this. Dr. Triguna, he was physician to the royal family of Norway. He was world-renowned as a human CAT scan because he could take the pulse, 3 fingers on the pulse, and tell you literally everything. If you had a bad fever when you were 3 years old, it was remarkable. So all these experts, other experts who had the ability to pick up a plant and know what it would cure. So all of these people were brought together along with the Vedic scholars, the Sanskrit pundits, who would then go through the ancient texts, 6,000 years old, but were written down in Sanskrit, preserved, and you could go through and see, oh, this is where this was misinterpreted and why they do it one way in the north, another way in the south. Maharishi wanted it standardized, so it didn't depend on just some special Vaidya who had, an ability, a special skill, that everyone could be trained And that meant Ayurveda could be authentically available, around the world. And so this authenticity is really what inspired my husband, Rogers, and myself to literally go ahead back many years ago when no one had ever heard of Ayurveda. They couldn't pronounce it, they couldn't spell it. Um, to just take the leap and build this facility in what used to be the middle of a cornfield in Iowa, to be in conjunction there with Maharishi International University, where the first Vajas were coming to the United States and research was being done. But we felt we had to make something lovely, a really gracious facility. So, we didn't look like hippies in the cornfield, setting up a yurt to offer alternative medicine programs. We had to create a dignified facility for a supremely royal and uh, comprehensive and effective body of medicine that allowed people to take their health and their happiness back into their own hands. So I went off the subject a little bit here, but I wanted to give you a little bit of background on the history and why we've been so fortunate to have the top Vajas coming through and educating all of our staff. So many of our staff have been technicians with us since the beginning, and it's so important. We have people who come with digestive problems. It only takes 5 days to get them back on track, but they go home and then they think, well, oh, I see an ad in the paper for an Ayurvedic person, and I'll go, and they make recommendations, and they come back a year later, and literally we have to start all over again. So it's key, and I appreciate your point about we need these in more places, and we're working on that now. We have a number of doctors who would like to partner with us and make sure we open up more facilities around the country.
It's lovely to hear, and just a deep felt thank you to you and your husband for this, because it is the heart of, at least in the States, I don't know around the rest of the world. Um, and just so lovely to hear that you are spreading it out. Yeah, and I guess I'm just feeling also a deep sense of if there's anything I
Yeah,
can do to help out in Southern California, I would be very happy to do that.
great, fantastic. And in the meantime, just by means of these monthly webinars, there is there are tips and there are guidelines, and we can have our own Vaija on, and also Vaija who'll be coming back in October. And let's do that as well, so we can just make sure everybody is able to take advantage of the incredibly profoundly healing insights of Ayurveda.
Just one other quick thing, and that is that Maharishi International University now has both it has a bachelor's, a master's, and a PhD program in Ayurveda now. So you can learn very deeply yourself. And many of the people who are taking these courses, and there are literally hundreds who are taking them at a distance online and gaining huge knowledge in this area. And it helps, they come to be able to help themselves, but they also can serve as consultants. And they know where their knowledge stops, and they need to bring in the Vajas that Candace is talking about here. But it's it's a real opportunity to gain this knowledge yourself. And you can do it from anywhere on the planet. It's online, basically. So it's worthwhile.
Just a note here, and that is Fairfield, Iowa is literally the Ayurveda capital of America. And it's because not only do we have the founding Panchakarma clinic in the Raj, but we also have Maharishi International University that has the only accredited Ayurveda and integrative medicine department and programs in the country. It's fully accredited through the PhD level. And on top of that, Maharishi Products International now has their headquarters here as well, where all the formulas, Ayurveda has such a sophisticated pharmacopoeia. It's just amazing because it's this knowledge of how the active ingredients in different plants, when you combine them, it multiplies the potency. And all this knowledge about how plants need to be picked. Some of them need to be picked at certain phases of the moon in order for their potency to be there and for them to be effective. And of course, all the herbs that we're gathering to make the formulas that Maharishi Ayurveda Products International creates, they cannot be near polluted areas. It can't be by the side of the road, so it has to be up in the mountains in these areas where there isn't pollution. So all these things have to be taken into consideration. And these are the standards that, Marcia wanted to set. And now it's all here in the most unlikely place in southeast Iowa, in the cornfields of Iowa. But it's very interesting. So we'll do a webinar on this as well. And that is Fairfield, Iowa, as the Ayurveda capital of America. So Elsa, thank you so much. And yes, let's stay in touch. And any way you can help, we would love it. Make sure this gets.
Thank you. Looking forward to it. Thank you both.
Thank you. Okay, and Marta Christie, if you can read some of the questions that are in the chat box. I think we've got quite a few. So where is this clinic? Fairfield, Iowa. Okay, wow, we've really got a lot here.
We have a question from Gloria. Can you talk about chronic diseases and your research?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, first and foremost, it's mainly at this point anecdotal. And so this is why we are starting to partner. I don't want to say anything yet because it's all in developmental stages, but it's a very, very reputable medical institution that we're very excited to be partnering with. And what we want to do is do case management with them. So they often have people coming to them who have problems, and they run the tests and they say, we can't really find anything wrong. We don't know how to address your problem. And we're saying to them now, send them to the Raj, and then let's case manage them together, and we can do testing and see what changes, because there are so many disorders that we can deal with so simply and so easily. I don't want to go into the whole Vata Pitta Kapha of Ayurveda. You can look that all up. It's everywhere on the internet, knowledge of the basic principles of Ayurveda. But this dosha, or this tendency in the body, this intelligence that governs movement, it's referred to as Vata. And Vata imbalances are just so prevalent now because we just have so much stimulation, between the phone and the computer and the TV and the computer. And then, it's just, and irregular times of eating and irregular schedules and irregular bedtimes. All of this vitiates that principle of intelligence in the body. It's referred to as Vata. We just need 5 days, and we can create such enormous impact on decreasing the symptoms of chronic disorders by addressing the root cause. And that is vitiated Vata, which Vata goes out most easily, and it can be put back into balance most easily. Things like fibromyalgia. Anyway, I won't go on and on, but there are so many we've had very good luck with. And so this is what we want to case manage with this medical institution, so that's the beginning of our research on chronic disorders. But then after we can show we can pull the toxins out, then we want to work with John in his lab on these inflammation markers. And there's so many, and genetic alteration on the genetic level after Panchakarma, and even brainwave coherence shifting after Panchakarma. It's fantastic for anxiety and depression and all of these things. It has its impact. So, John, if you want to make any comments, please go right ahead.
Well, I think you've covered things very beautifully. So let's
Okay,
move forward.
on to the next question here.
Here's another chronic disease related question from Layla. If I don't have chronic diseases, how can I know if I have a high level of toxins in my body that I have to deal with?
My grandfather used to say, if you have a problem, first figure out how to measure it. When you measure it, you can solve the problem. And that's what we do at Health Research Institute, is to actually look for what toxins might be there, and then we can figure out how to pull them out. And obviously Panchakarma is the the very natural and integrating approach to this. And the beautiful thing about Panchakarma is that it's not just a detoxification system. It's a rebalancing system. It's something that integrates and balances your physiology so that you can move forward stably and really feel much better. So and it's also luxurious. It's very enjoyable and relaxing and just a delightful thing to do. So it's all there to enjoy. And you'll enjoy life more after you've taken on a program of Panchakarma.
Thanks, John. It's great. Okay, what other questions do we have, Marta Christie?
Rania is asking, what about toxins in skincare? What should we look out for? And what is your take on sunscreen debate happening globally?
You go on the sunscreen and I'll talk about the skincare.
Well, they're all in the same category. And there's been in the skincare world, there's been this incorrect assumption that putting it on your skin is different than eating it. But in fact, many, many of the things in skincare and in other things like sunscreen absorb through your skin and go everywhere in your body. And so we must be as careful about what we put on our skin as what we put in our mouth. It's really, really important. I'll leave it there, Candace, and you can take it from there.
Well, also, I'm reminded what you said to me the other day about how important it is that everyone has an all-house water filter so that you're filtering the water, or at least on your shower head, because all of the stuff does come through the skin as well. So that's another important thing. And then the other thing is there are a lot of companies out there that are really looking for skincare products to create skincare products that, as they say, are clean, which means they're avoiding these forever chemicals, and they use organic ingredients to a great extent. And there's a lot on the internet about it. So in terms of skincare, definitely you can find that. And sunscreen, sunscreen can be a problem. But again, I think there's something called Badger, which is supposed to be organic sunscreen. And of course, it's that, what is that white pasty stuff? So you look a little funny, if you put it on your nose or whatever. It's kind of white pasty looking stuff, but at least it's safe.
Mhm. Well, that's what we've been told, but in fact,
Uh-oh,
it's not safe.
the Badger one isn't safe.
Well, the white stuff, what's it called? Titanium oxide.
Yes, that's it.
Yes, the titanium oxide, some of it actually is nanoparticles that absorb through your skin. And it's not really as safe as we've thought in the past. So there's the old saying that there's no such thing as a free lunch. And so
Well, maybe we all just
natural is the key. Natural is the key. Use shade instead of the sunscreen. Get a hat that has a wide brim that protects your face. do these sorts of things, wear clothing that protects you from the sun. These are the things that will assure natural safety from the sun. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that information. I really appreciate it.
And that way you don't have to put that ugly white stuff on your nose, you know.
Right. That was great. Thank you. Okay, Marta Christie, anything else here?
We have a lot of questions. Rania's second question is, how can we detox at home if we can't afford to do Panchakarma all the time?
Yeah, so there are wonderful Maharishi Ayurveda products, and there's a whole home prep. So before people come for Panchakarma, we have a program that they can do at home. And I think what we can start doing is finding a way to kind of make that something available. It has to do either with herbs, herbal supplements, or our favorite, castor oil. So, and there's a diet that you follow beforehand, and taking some herbalized ghee as well. And so, again, this is part of the program we're developing at the Raj, where we can have packages for a home cleanse. We can have packages for home, even home panchakarma. It's just you're giving it to yourself.
Our next question from Anna. Thank you. What do you suggest for insulin resistance?
Now, that's an interesting question, because the whole perspective from Ayurveda is that it's not that, say, with diabetes, it's not that everyone who has diabetes has the same cause. Now, you can say, well, it has to do with blood sugar, but in some people, it's a pitta imbalance. In some people, it's a vata imbalance. And so this is why uh, really it's such an individualized approach to health that it's good to just even have a phone consultation for any of that kind of information, because then you can be guided properly for your specific situation.
Joel is asking, I'm not familiar with Panchakarma. How, where can I learn the basics of it? What's involved with the treatments and what the benefits are?
You can go to theraj.com. There at theraj.com, if you move around that website, there's so much information in that website. We're just in the process of redoing it, so it's going to look a lot better in about 2 weeks. But for now, there's a lot of great information, and it will describe what Panchakarma is. There is an element of Panchakarma. We could say it's kind of like an enema, and it's a very important part of the treatment. Sometimes we could say even 80% of the results. So sometimes guests want to pass on that part, and certainly we can structure a program without it. But I'm just letting everybody know here that, especially in light of what we've been talking about today, it's a really important part of the treatment. It's nothing excessive or intense. It's all very simple and comfortable. It's an awkward thing to kind of discuss, but it is a very important part of the treatment.
Tara is asking, is there a way to test soil for previous chemicals, especially if you are in a place that was previously farmed, such as in the case of you in the former cornfield?
Yes, there are. We test a lot of soil. Many farmers are sending us their soil, and gardeners as well. So we can do that for you.
We're very fortunate at the Raj, because we purchased our piece of land, 100 acres, 35 years ago. So this was before these more recent forever chemicals were being used. So, and other than what they have now, the rain and over time that gets broken down. So we feel pretty comfortable about the piece of property that the Raj is sitting on.
This is good, yes. And by the way, I put the phone number for Health Research Institute into the chat. So if you want to call, we can arrange for testing of body burden or soil or whatever. So
Wonderful.
And Susan is asking, I have severe arthritis. Any chance you have something that can help me? I worked in environmental science for years and lived in Alaska and did lots of outdoor activities.
Panchakarma is really, really helpful for arthritis. And
mm,
again, you can simply call the Raj, and I think all that information is also in the chat box there, and schedule just a phone consultation where herbs and diet recommendations and lifestyle recommendations will be given to help you with any particular health issue that you have. So absolutely, Ayurveda is a wonderful thing. Okay, next. We're kind of going a long time, but we really, if John, if you don't mind, I know you're there. And
no, I'm happy to stay on a bit longer. So
I think we're getting to the end of our questions. We have some questions that we can send you links for, but Diana, the last question she's asking, I have TBI and with that, a multitude of health issues. Appears I'm a slow healer. I've been on this journey for 9 years. Considering coming there this September, I'd like to see what you can do to improve my health.
Absolutely. And go ahead right now and call the Raj and schedule a phone consultation. And there's so many things that you can start doing right away. And then Panchakarma is, it takes it all. The healing just takes a big leap with Panchakarma.
I think we're at the end of our questions. Terry was asking about an online form, and is there an invite code? But which form are you referring to? Was that to sign up for the study? Or you can just follow up in the chat for that one. But I think we are done with our questions.
I just want to mention something to Susan, who joined late. Can John talk about the detox fat soluble chemicals? Yeah, that was kind of the point today. But the detox is Panchakarma. That's where we did the study 20 years ago, where we showed Dr. Robert Heron, and can you spotlight Bob Heron? And I really want to have an interview with Bob as well, because he also has some really wonderful insights about what we can do for vets and the chemicals that they have been exposed to. And it's a really beautiful insight. It would be wonderful to talk about. But anyway, yes, Dr. Fagan and Dr. Robert Heron also together, Robert was the lead on this study. They found that Panchakarma could relieve 50% of the body burden of environmental toxins in 5 days, 5 to 7 days. So that's really what we were talking about today, and we'll have a replay of this at some point as well. All right, I think we've done it. And let's see, Elsa, any last comment here? But you have to come off of mute. Just saw your hand go up.
I had to be allowed to go off mute. Yeah, is PK also preventative? If I've had arthritis in my family for generations and I don't have it yet, I'm much healthier than what my previous generations lived, but is it preventative also?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, you're staying on top of the toxins. And you know, we're going to have another webinar on the toxins that we produce by means of weak digestion. And these are serious substances. They're like sticky residue from undigested food, when we don't fully digest our food. And it also really contributes, lodges itself in the joints and contributes to arthritis. And it's referred to as ama in the Ayurvedic texts. And we'll spend a webinar just talking about ama and how to avoid it. And that's Panchakarma is just fantastic for pulling all of that out. So absolutely, preventive is the best aspect of it. You know, if we can, what's the saying? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, something along that line. So yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Looking forward to that.
Yes, great. Okay, so Marta Christie, I think we can conclude. And thank you. Thank you for all your fantastic questions. And thank you for really staying with us for such a long time today. And thank you so much, Dr. John Fagan. Really and truly, you have done such a service to the world. You've been on this thing since day one. You recognize the dangers of genetically engineered food from day one. And you've dedicated your life to this. And we're very, very grateful to you for doing that.
Oh, thank you. It's been a delight to be here, and great questions too.
Great questions. All right, everyone, we'll put a few slides up about the newsletter and our Facebook and Instagram pages, and we'll let you take in any information there that you need. And we'll be signing off. And again, thank you for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you next month. You'll get a notice about it.